it has to be controlled by human. You can't let it just go by AI creating lots of things. So at the baselines and let's call it the regulations around the use of that AI for any business, I expect the same, should be written out, like a GDP requirement, regulations in the past. That was a statement that anybody had to adhere and align to.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to a new episode of Gold Secrets. Today we are very pleased to have with us Esther. Welcome, Esther.
Hi, thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Miguel, this is the first podcast for me, so we're going to do this super nicely.
We cannot even call it a podcast, it's more a conversation between. Exactly. So nothing to worry about.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you. And we will explain later why we are interviewing Esther. Typically, here in Gold Secrets, we would like to have like a short questions as an icebreaker to get to know you a bit better, more in an informal way, to know a bit not only about your professional career, but also know you as a person. Is that okay?
Let's hear that. Okay, see what you want to know.
Perfect. So, what's your name?
Ester van den Bosch.
Okay. Which country do you live?
In Belgium, center of Europe, right?
Yeah, I very well know the country. I've been there for almost 3 years.
Super nice.
Okay, so if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
I've thought about that, and to be honest, I'm very, very happy in the country I am in. So I'd love to just travel and go somewhere from time to time. But as a resident, I would really prefer to be where I am today. Although one day, 30 years ago, I went to Brazil. And that was a country where after a few days, I was like, this might be a country I want to live in. But now, yeah, things have changed. You grow a family and all of that. So maybe that's not the case anymore. But that was one day a thought.
We can leave the door open between Belgium and Brazil. Both are your two options. Are you more a sea or a mountain person?
I'm a mountain.
That's a challenge to prefer mountains while you live in Belgium. There are not
Correct.
so many.
Correct. But as you are on the seaside, you have a good view. And well, in Belgium, it's colder sea, of course. And you could have like nice and blue seas. By the way, my second screen has a sea as a background. But the mountains, you can look far. And you can really focus on what is coming. Where at the it's a little bit more restricted, but nice at the same time.
Which was your favorite holidays and why? Besides Brazil, I'm not sure if that was on holidays.
A few, but if you refer to mountains before, if I would prefer to go on holidays, it would be mountains. Why? Because I'm not a bad skier. So that would be one of the reasons. Yeah.
Okay, can you imagine, Esther? I've never went to ski.
I can imagine. Lots of people not. And maybe we should all head before there is no snow anymore. No.
And now I feel a bit frustrated because I consider myself old to start learning ski.
True. You're never too old. By the way, by the time I was 18 and I never finished it, after one more week and I would have been ski instructor. Maybe my life would have changed totally. But so that's a little background story for me. You couldn't read from me.
Yeah. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, which one would it be?
I'm good with pasta.
Pasta. Okay.
But on the other side, as I have very, very wide allergies and food intolerances, I cannot eat apples, for example. So if I would be able to eat one day an apple again, I would be so pleased. from all the food I cannot have, apples would be one.
Okay. And related to this, which one do you think is the most overrated food?
Oh, on any
Overrated.
these hypes, like proteins and other nice newer stuff that was always there, by the way, when we eat chickens and eggs and all of that. I think because those are hypes or more
Mm-hmm.
modes and fashions that pass by. I think whenever we can eat, we should be pleased with what we have. But there is in any food every nutrient that we should be able to need for our bodies.
Perfect.
Yeah.
The best book or movie that you have ever read or watched?
Oh, that's complicated. Didn't think about that one. Um,
It can be just the last movie that you watch, maybe the weekend.
there's so many. I don't recall the name of one of the movies, but it was with superstars. Um, I don't recall it. Sandra Bullock was playing in one, and a book I would look at what's at my bedside. Two books. One is Cleopatra. I'm always intrigued by biographies. Well, it's not a biography, of course, but about famous people and how they have lived and how they've managed the world. And the second one is about I don't know what it is called in English,
I
but
say
it's
it in
about
French.
near-death experiences.
All right, interesting.
A difference.
So related, maybe now you will choose Cleopatra, but if you could have dinner with any historical figure, which
Something like that.
Cleopatra?
Yeah, why not? I don't know if I can eat the food, but from back then, but yeah, why not?
All right. And last one, what's the title of the current chapter of your life? If imagine that you are writing a book, what would be the title of this chapter?
Mm. I would be writing a few books probably, but the focus chapter is me, my family, and I, the future, work, live, and have some fun. So that's
Those three
part of my
ingredients is always a good combination.
and health. Sorry, that's another one. Health. Yeah,
Health, food, family, and fun.
yeah.
Good, good combination.
Continuing your passion.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you. Thank you very much, Esther. Now we know you a bit better.
uh,
uh, the idea of having this icebreaker is to make some crazy questions, and then the audience will know you a bit better, which are your passions, your favorite and your less favorite food. But going more to a professional side of or business-wise, who is Esther, and what's your experience?
now I have to present myself. I thought you were going to do that, but that's okay. Um, yeah, a few years, more than a decade in the healthcare industry, and specifically as an expert on levels of cold chain, anything temperature controlled, from a packaging perspective, a logistics perspective, the blend of it all, monitoring devices, whatever you need, from a parcel up to an air freight movement, and sea movement, whatever is needed to get crucial temperature controlled medications and products around the globe. Worked for and in packaging industry, as well as being leading cold chain packaging program within UPS for 14 years. And yeah, now I'm moving on to the next part in my life, at my next chapter, which is continue what I do best with the passion I drive towards the industry and helping anybody out there as consultant, freelance opportunities, things like that. Always
See, Esther,
best in class direction and focus for optimizing anything that is needed in this industry.
You see, Esther, why I did not introduce you? Because I could not have done it any way better.
No. I'm sure you probably had written out a document, so yeah.
It's 10 times better that you explain with your own words who you are, and then the audience will appreciate it. So you mentioned specialize in healthcare, air transportation mainly, and specialize in packaging.
Yeah, any type of from small to very large shipments. So it can be parcel size, can be radiopharmaceuticals, can be specific. I'm a geek. I love dangerous goods. I love this environment. But at the end, it's always a person that's probably behind any medication that's needed. If it's temperature controlled or not temperature controlled. At the end, we're helping out the healthcare in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we forget because we are so embedded in our daily routine and software, new features, transportation, logistics, cost optimization, and often we forget that at the end, the medicines has a purpose, and our purpose is. I always like saying that we are saving people's lives
We
because
are. We should.
because actually we are delivering medicines to people who need it.
Correct.
And it's a great mission. So
it's an imperative mission that people like us help out this world.
and when we are talking about temperature control logistics, one of the main or the initial questions that everyone raises is, okay, what's the difference or the benefits between active and passive? So what's the role of packaging in terms of cold chain compliance, or which are the benefits of using a passive packaging to ensure the compliance on the cold chain?
Compliance is a specific word. You can look at GDP, GMP compliance and global cold chains. When you look at specific packaging, there's always a need for a active, which is then battery operated, for example, or passive where it has cool packs. That's the main difference. Or maybe a dry ice can also be a passive packaging. It is depending on the need of where you need to go, the type of product that you have to ship, the temperature you need to ship in, etc. The compliance and the qualification, pre-qualification done by the suppliers are very, very important to ensure that you are already using something that has been validated. Many customers in the industry are using pre-qualified packaging or do an additional test or many additional tests to ensure that they have themselves also validated or qualified. In line with GDP, of course, there is a need to show regulators that you are compliant in using, and the packaging is the first line of compliance. Validated thermal packaging, no matter if it is active or passive, if it is tamper evidence and maybe control documentation that can enable all these GDP and GMP regulations around the globe, across the borders, to ensure you can ship safely.
Very interesting. And you mentioned about qualification of packaging. Last week, I had I wouldn't say a discussion, different opinion with a customer because he was talking, yeah, my packaging is qualified. And I was trying to differentiate the qualification of the packaging itself with the actual data of the product. Can you share your opinion on why sometimes maybe I'm guiding you to the answer, which is something I don't want to do.
No.
Let's phrase it differently. Which are the differences?
Go ahead.
Which are the differences between qualification of packaging qualification, and the actual data of the shipment of the parcel,
right?
And how they complement each other.
Right. So, and that's like not the chicken and the egg question, but a little bit look-alike. When you have suppliers who already pre-qualified their products, a specific packaging has been already done triple testing, for example, against an ISTA profile, which is widely used across the globe these days. Although other temperature profiles also exist, but the ISTA has taken the lead over the years. You do that against a profile that's been made maybe some years ago, a temperature profile made based on maybe US data, whereas it is for many months and many shipments, of course, and then there is modeling, and then there is the temperature profile. It might not be the actual day-to-day profile that you are shipping through. Although with all the weather and climate changes over the years, and of course we are in a worse winter moment, or we are in a very, very high temperature in the summer. One year it is like that, the other years it's totally different. Now I know you're in Spain. There's again a whole flooding in the north of Spain, I read this morning. So the temperature and the environment, the climate is changing all the time. Although these temperature profiles that packaging is tested against is a stable profile, which is maybe already there and came up from years ago. Although where you can do next level is to ensure that you have that mapped against maybe a digital twin of what it is today. And that is where you will be better mitigating the risk and not only using stable data where packaging has been tested against. You didn't lead me to the answer, but I think that is probably what you were referring to.
Yeah. And especially because most of the temperature profiles that we are making the validation against, those are typically a maximum 30 degrees.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, summer in Spain, everywhere is above 30 degrees.
Sure.
So
of course, it's not passing and sitting there for 4 hours in 36 degrees. So there is always a differentiator and a changing model. And any routing, every routing is just not the same for every parcel and every customer or every pallet on a different airline. Different routing can be making another stop over on the tarmac in Doha. It's where it can hit 70 degrees when it is not rightly covered. I mean, you just stick something on the tarmac for a long time. It's about control. So whenever you can do more to ensure that the packaging is covered and qualified for doing a specific lane, whether it's for a smaller parcel or pallet or any ocean freight containers, the better you are serving your product. And at the end, of course, that end customer or end health person.
Esther, pharmaceutical distribution, it's a weird word. Why I'm saying that? Because we are kind of a combination between logistics and pharmaceutical. So for pharmaceutical itself, qualification, quality first is like the key driver. But at the same time, we also are in the logistics world where cost and efficiencies plays a key factor. So how do we balance the 100% quality, zero risk pharmaceutical approach with the efficiencies which are required in every logistics operation? And this all combined with the regulations that we have in place.
I think it's about a high control on what you're shipping on any specific lane or where your product needs to go. If you have the ability with probably in the future, and that's my future outlook, I hope to be part of that, to help building that. But we have now AI, and we have to have predictive analytics who can help with all the data that has been gathered from a pre-qualified documentation already for packaging, specific lane validation, the platform validations, the QA, the logistics part, all of these factors, the packaging suppliers, the 3PLs and all the pharma, whenever there are even KPIs in place, they have to have some kind of joint validation protocols as well, and ensure that they can have failure postmortems to build these resilient flows. And I think the key to all of that is the trust that you can have all between the partners, because it's not just in the logistics and okay, we'll take the parcel, we'll ship it. There's a whole combination of I don't know, I call it a holistic system.
Yeah,
So
it's the collaboration between the
that
different partners
cooperate.
involved in the supply chain.
And all of these components have to trust each other to make that very, very solid. We're not at the level where we are in healthcare industry, where the automotive is. That's like probably the top range of any supply chain, but they don't always have that component of the cold chain or temperature controlled shipments. So it is an additional layer. But it is about making everything work together as clockwork and ensuring that there's control, ensuring that there is a possibility for alternative routings even, so that once there is something, a hiccup somewhere in a place around the world, that hopefully in the next years or very sooner than we can imagine, I can predict what's going to go on, and immediately, even if you have hybrid models or if you are only using one network or one airline, but then you have to switch to another airport or whatever is needed. And we've seen the Corona situation making a lot of disturbances around the globe on a airline flow, for example. You need to have that very quick ability with already predictive
Reaction, adapt quickly to different
alternatives and
changes.
react. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
And for
I talk too much.
no problem at all. I mean, that's why we are here to listen to you. I just want to mention that in order to take quick reactions and the AI that you mentioned, because now it's quite trendy. Everyone is talking about AI. But there is like a baseline, so you can build an AI system on top of whatever data. But the let's say the starting point is capturing the data.
Exactly.
And here, especially on the IoT sector, the capture of in the cold chain sector, the capturing itself of the data is part of the IoT. So we need to combine the IoT, so real-time trackers, which are capturing the data. Then this data needs to be standardized, because now we can explain, but there are many different suppliers out there who can create loggers and so on. So this data needs to talk to each other.
Yep.
As you were referring before, like partners who are trust and collaborative approach. And then based on that, we can build, on top of that, we can build a layer, an intelligent layer with AI who can hopefully predict the hiccups or future anomalies and so on. So having all this in mind, which are the latest innovations or the most relevant innovations that you have seen over the last few months or few years, because everything is moving quite quickly. So maybe if I if I ask about a few years, then but which are the latest innovations that you have seen in the industry?
Let me think 10 years back, because I always do predictions I'm going to do that again in December, but it's for me. I never release them. Maybe I should start doing that as well. And when I was thinking about the major innovative solutions that are out there on temperature sensitive packaging over the past years, I thought about 5. I wrote them down, so I'm just going to check if I have them right. First of all, phase change materials. Anything that is also vacuum insulated panels, and that will that helped the industry to build longer passive holds. That means that was a crucial differentiator than the years before. I'm not saying it was in the past decade, it was already there before, but it was more like it came more trendy and knowledgeable to the industry. Before that, it was just water-based gel packs, maybe with a little bit of salt, etc. So that was one. Secondly, I saw lightweighted, also validated reusable packaging solutions that cut costs and footprints if you do that right. that's a whole other discussion. But so reusable shippers, definitely. The third one was users and setting up rental models for these reusable packaging systems, like a rent-a-car model. That's still ongoing and widely spreading. The fourth one, and that was the one I mentioned to many suppliers, probably in 2011, 2012. If you find me the Holy Grail, my Holy Grail is something that changes styrofoam boxes that are mainly used for clinical trials, and then ending up in landfill, huge waste at hospitals around the globe. If someone can make that that Holy Grail, similar pricing, effectiveness, the performance equally accepted by the industry, and potentially eco-friendly. Because styrofoam, of course, might be, well, not all styrofoam, but initial styrofoam, more than 50 years, it would still be in our soil if thrown away. The fourth one is truly fully recyclable passive packaging that can be the alternative for styrofoam, mainly used for dry ice, for example, in clinical trials. And yes, last year, the year before, initial take-ons were made by many suppliers and very close to the Holy Grail, I predicted a long time ago. And the fifth one is the wider spread adoption of continuous Internet of Things, the monitoring and the end-to-end visibility. As 10 years ago, it was more on the RFPs like the dream world. Can I have this, please? Now it is the must to have, but it is going wider than that because there's also AI that came along. And so you have more predictive models depending on that. Yeah, so those were my...
Very interesting. I was taking notes because you mentioned about reusable packaging.
Yeah.
And there is always a key challenge when people talks about reusable packaging, which is how do we make this reusable packaging effective? Meaning, because, okay, if we ship from Barcelona to Belgium and it's reusable, good, but now the packaging is in Belgium. So how we need to then we enter into the scope of the reverse logistics, which maybe we are gaining efficiency in terms of, okay, it's a reusable packaging, but we also spend some cost, money, and even pollution for these reverse logistics to happen.
Yeah.
So where is the trade-off on how can we make it more efficient?
That's a whole different... you didn't mention it in the podcast, right? Conversation, a whole different conversation. We can have 1 hour discussion again. It's about control again. How to make this? There are many, many ways. I had designed a closed loop, connected loop solution around that since 2014. And now that you mention it, I have a new article coming on my LinkedIn Wednesday to this Wednesday. Yeah, I'll just refer to that because that's gonna make our conversation shorter. But at the end, it is about control, controlling every piece so that you can get every parcel back. And when you say yes, you have to get it back. Your final reverse leg, let's call it like that, has to be as low on carbon footprint as possible. So it might be, but at the time, it is no longer needed at temperature because it's an empty parcel, but you just need it back to ensure that your fleet is at the same level as you have always. So you need to ensure that you get it back on a low carbon footprint, but also not like in a month, right? So it's a tight balance about it to make it really, really secured, and there is a way to make very good use of reusable packaging.
I'm looking forward for next Wednesday to read your article and get more insights about it. Probably this podcast, by the way, is going to be published later, so people will have already the...
Will be on my LinkedIn.
Perfect. Um, and they're recyclable. Because a couple of weeks ago, I was in touch with a company in the UK. They were producing isolated packaging. The name is Plumo Plus. Do you know them?
Yes.
Very good guys. This is in the direction of recyclable packaging, right?
Yeah, it's the one with the feathers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I think that they have a great product and they are very aligned with the vision that you mentioned about recyclable and so on.
Correct. And there's not only them, but they're in that specific niche with the feathers. You have all kinds of different, more eco-friendly materials. And that's also one of the, let's say, last decade changes is that people started looking to alternative materials as well. You have feathers, but eco-friendly. You have wool. You have all kinds of different materials. And they all have a meaningful impact. Nice to have your duvet to cover you at night. You know that that is quite charming as a temperature. But at the same time, you have a wool sweater. We know that that functions as well. It's just maybe our brain that says, how would I see my pharmaceuticals packed in that? But it is about that performance that is needed. Right. So we know that those things function. No, there's a great amount of interesting newer materials coming to market.
So if you want to take my advice, Esther, I definitely think that you should write down your predictions for the next 10 years.
I will.
And then we will call you Esther Nostradamus.
Thank God. Yeah.
And then in 10 years, we read your predictions and evaluate how they perform.
Yep. Yeah.
Deal.
Now you know what I want to know. What we see as a prediction, like in long time. Would that be our next question?
And you wrote also about radiopharmaceutical and ultrasensitive products.
Yeah.
Of course, those products are very sensitive in terms of cold chain. Is there any challenge or any specificities that make these products different versus other type of products in terms of cold chain management?
Yeah, there's a whole supply chain challenge. You have very extremely short shelf lives on these products. Don't know if you have already taken one day a radioactive rated medication. I did. Went to the hospital, needed to do that. That never seen a yellow pill. It's actually yellow that I needed to take. It came in a small lead container. Didn't even know that those existed. Then I started investigating. That was 2023. And one day, the first appointment, I couldn't make it. And the doctor had indicated, yeah, we'll have to scrap the product. It cannot be used anymore. But we can only do it in this time frame because your next appointment will only be by X days. And then you need to come and you need to be there at this hour, etc. So there's very extremely short shelf lives of the products. There's a very tight regulatory controls and dose level integrity requirements. They force this ultra fast and validated handoffs. It's not just anybody who can do these logistics as well. I investigated at the time. By the way, Belgium is one of the four front riders of in this arena. Apparently, France is as well, and there are only a handful of logistics providers who can do that in a validated way. Their key hurdles, I noted that as well, have to be a traceable chain of custody. Again, radiation-specific handling training for whoever is using it. That doctor could not even take that pill in his hands. He had to put a cup and then pour it in there and then hand it over to me. and it had to not to stay around in the air too long, blah, blah, lots of different things. And so there's a kind of an emergency ready logistics window that you have to do. And there's strict documentation to satisfy the GDP and nuclear regulatory bodies when that is shipped. So it's a complexity, but there are good ways to do that. And that I could refer just to another LinkedIn article, as you said, I wrote one. Yeah.
Okay. Now, because we are based in Barcelona, as I told you, and we are part of a Logistics 4.0 incubator. And in the next table, there is a company named Grasshopper, and they are I'm not sure if you heard the guy from Germany, and basically they are specialized in pharmaceutical distribution with drones.
Another one.
It just came to my mind when you were talking about very small shelf life of these kind of products, emergency deliveries, and so on. Just thinking out loud, maybe drone delivery with compliant pharmaceutical traceability can be one of the possible solutions. But okay, maybe we should read into
Maybe
your article.
2030 or something. You pick up your Nostradamus.
All right.
Drone. Imagine what you're putting as layers together: a drone and radiopharmaceuticals and all of these next level logistics and emergency windows, etc. You just add another layer because the drone already at itself has a lot of complexities. Heavyweight, you can't just build in all types of packaging systems in there, etc. Also something that I looked at in the past. Yeah, so let's see where this heads.
There's a lot of challenge ahead.
Wow.
So, but that's what keeps us busy, right, Esther? If everything was easy, then everything will be solved.
Exactly. And I think we are in this fantastic era of so many developments. So let's see where it has us for the future. The past 10 years have made like material developments and lots of things. Now we have this AI is top of world word, the buzzword of the year probably, or in the past years already. But any technology developments, it's like fast growing right now. You just turn off your computer and tomorrow there's another layer of ChatGPT, right? So everything builds so rapidly fast that we are probably experiencing during our lives the next levels that we were dreaming of already 10 years ago.
Our first podcast, the first podcast, the Cold Secret podcast that we launched was with Fabian De Pauli.
Mm-hmm.
And he was explaining the evolution of cold chain logistics over the last 30 years.
Oh.
And he made like a storyline over the last 30 years. And we clearly saw that the evolution has increased a lot more in terms of evolution and changes over the last, let's say, 5 years. So there was kind of an unstable period, and then technology, it's a
yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing.
Growing much faster.
Yeah.
And all this technology, like 30 years ago, we were like only the packaging, no measures at all, and ship it, cross your fingers and hope it's delivered okay. And now we are talking about drone delivery with IoT cold chain automation.
Wow.
So
fast.
But all this automation is also associated with some risk that we need to consider, right? So how do you feel? And now it's the Annex 22, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know exactly by heart, but I think it's Annex 22, where it's defining also how to make a good use of AI in terms of regulatory compliance. Because if we are delegating some of the decisions to an AI agent, that should be measurable and to make sure it's robust enough. Basically, the question is, how do we make sure that this automation is, or how can we mitigate the risk of the whole automation that we have, and we have to embrace, because otherwise we'll be so stupid and not embrace the innovative solutions that we have. But there is also some risk mitigation strategies that we need to implement to be compliant and to be safe.
Yeah. I wrote something down about that the other day. Just can't take it back to my mind. It has to be controlled by human. You can't let it just go by AI creating lots of things. So at the baselines and let's call it the regulations around the use of that AI for any business, I expect the same, should be written out, like a GDP requirement, regulations in the past. That was a statement that anybody had to adhere and align to. So the addition of using AI for any predictive or useful needs in the industry needs to have a layer set of, KPIs, protocols, resilient flows that can be designed by that. But in the first part, I think it has to be controlled anyway by humans, people who are dedicated to that industry, who set these levels of use. And it's
That's basically keeping human in the loop. I'm more a nerd, so I'm more on the technical side, and that's what it's an AI system keeping human in the loop. So then it's a facilitator. It's a facilitator, but the actual decision, there is always a supervision from a human.
To me, that is how we make the use of AI trustworthy. How would you feel if there were no regulations around that part and just ensure, yeah, okay, let me just have that cancer medication that is brought radioactive to my, and I need to be in the hospital at the time. Let's just hope we do not have the need for that. But that anybody would just have to rely on a machine at the end, technology, built by humans, but maybe not controlled by humans anymore, or controlled by layers, and just trust that whatever medication is arriving there is still all the layers that are needed. The temperature is there from the manufacturing piece, because it's a chain. It's not that cold chain when it is in the logistics, but there's a whole chain before that as well within the manufacturing side. So that anything that comes along a problem on a batch can be a problem on a product can be returned to a review of a full batch that has been spread around the world. So we have to keep that control. And then I think that's the only way that the healthcare, the people in need of healthcare should be still trusting what is brought to them.
Before, Esther, you were talking about collaboration and partnerships as a crucial element for a successful supply chain. However, I want to share my own experience so far.
Mm.
Companies are not so willing to collaborate, and even less to share data.
Yeah, and then I come back to where you were asking something earlier. And when you build these next level capabilities of controlled environments and ecosystems where you have that Internet of Things generating also any alternative routings, etc. You can build that, but you need that data. That's where you referred to earlier. And that is a crucial element, of course, where every healthcare manufacturer is keeping a strict control of what they know, what their products have been passing through as from a thermal performance, weather performance, their monitoring devices, etc. And I understand that there is a need for that control by every. But if you do not open that or loosen, no, not loosen is not the right word, but allow an industry and that ecosystem to develop predictive analytical, next level distribution routes or alternatives that can be built with the knowledge that's been used and maybe just kept secret by all of these healthcare industry manufacturers. If you open that up, imagine what a next level hockey stick we can have, because that is a crucial element before you can build the next level. And I understand that there are probably laws, regulations that do not allow everyone to share that, but at least have a way to think about it, that there is a future behind all of that data.
I'm fully convinced that there is so much hidden knowledge in our data that we are not benefiting from it yet. It's
And
I mean, routes which are best performing, carriers, I don't know, airports that we should, this airport on Wednesday, we should try to avoid it because someone is working there and the operations doesn't run as smoothly as they should. This kind of information is already there, and that should be, I mean, with a good collaboration between partners, that should be publicly available and we all can benefit from it. And have you seen any good example of this kind of collaboration along the different years of experience in your career?
Yes, definitely. But there have been a few, but also where you could build out alternative solutions, even on a daily basis, based on the weather. It was already 2014, I think. Long before someone even invented AI or the word. Probably it was invented, but in the background, not known to us. But you can no, what I did was designing a weather tool. Was the regular word, where from a airline lane flow, not airline, but air lane flow, you could have the operators swiftly on a daily basis, on a pallet level, define if okay and agreed upfront, of course, by that specific customer, to use either on a route very, very specific temperatures, with very specific temperatures in that day and the 5 next days, to go from an active container with highly controlled 2 to 8 up to the use of thermal blankets. So the all way around, where you could have cost savings almost on a daily basis, depending on the routes and the temperatures on that routing. So in that way, but it was like a manual type of solutioning and had to have hands. It was controlled by human, whereas you could have that today probably built in by tomorrow in an AI kind of built tool. But at the end, it has to be controlled.
It doesn't matter really which is the tool, it's more the mentality of data sharing and collaboration between partners. That's what matters the most. At the end, tools are changing, and now it's AI, which I mean, I don't feel it's a bad work. I think there is a real potential, and that can change significantly our life. But in 5-10 years time, I mean, I'm becoming Nostradamus now too. But then new technology will appear, and that will change also completely. But the things that will remain is that there is always a patient behind it, and collaboration between different partners is crucial.
Yeah,
not making closed ecosystem.
Yeah, people helping people or humans helping humans.
Yeah, and I didn't want to finish the conversation because you had the opportunity to work across Europe, Asia, and different places in the world. And now we were referring that the mentality and the mindset of people is probably one of the most important things in business. So which are the main differences that you have experienced working internationally?
It was great adventures. I keep doing that. That's coming from being in Belgium. It makes a possibility.
Easy.
You're in Spain, you know that we can hit New Zealand and Australia very early in the mornings, work throughout the day, and having the partners in Europe. And then at the end of the day, until late hour evenings, we can connect to the US. But having worked and having had anything but US also under my wings for years. For example, the regional differences, if I think about it, it's Europe prioritizes more the strict documentation and environmental regulations. We're definitely everything environment is top level focus. For me, Asia emphasizes more the speed and the network density. And then if I look at the emerging markets, that is more about durable and low dependency solutions like packaging that is easier to use and maybe locally continue using for a long period. So those were the main differences in my regions from a regional perspective.
I was thinking that I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad sign that Europe is known for the bureaucracy and the documentation. Can it be a limitation in terms of being competitive against other regions like Asia or the States, the level of bureaucracy that we have in Europe?
I don't see the
Or
bureaucracy as
you see it differently?
limitation. I see it as a way of control. Because if you do not think about it, if you don't have all the layers, and maybe, of course, there might be some layers, maybe too much or too heavy or whatever, that's not for me to decide. But there is, if you do not have that, it's like the free world. And it doesn't help the progress for the future, because then you cannot build all these resilient ecosystems that we are supposed to do in our Nostradamus.
Okay, so in order to build a resilient supply chain, can you list a few advice that you will give to leaders in order to build this resilient supply chain?
Yeah. It has to do with compliance. So I think from any leading company to hire cross-functional compliance people. And cross-functional, I think, is important, not just looking at this, but having a broad perspective. Create regional playbooks, which can enable, and invest in continuous training, because it's very, very, very important to keep people up to pace. Create these digital SOPs, not only something in a framework that is inside one region, but can also be used across global teams to act uniformly within companies, but still have that under their local rules. But there has to be a specific, and I think most of the larger players, they have that in place. But it is about building up a strengthened, not bureaucratic, but documentation network within the companies, yet allowing some regional functionalities in that as well to apply to these local rules. That is one. And then second, build a single quality system that flexes regionally, not all kinds of, but having that all within one framework, aligned to there's any SaaS models, and not competing procedures between different regions as well. So having a layout that is globally accepted by any portion of the companies. It doesn't go only for the healthcare industry. Any other industries can adopt that as well, but also not only the healthcare industry, but also have that adopted by all the logistics players, because at the end, you're connecting and your models, and then you have to connect those to the logistics players as well. And I hope and I expect in the future to have that seamlessly connected.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you didn't want to say the bureaucracy. I do say it. I think there is a lot of bureaucracy of extra documentation that does not really bring value. That's my own opinion. That can be simplified, because also sometimes, based on my experience, that bureaucracy or SOPs, I heard once that we are not going to implement that improvement because then we need to change SOPs.
Exactly.
So basically, that means that we are not adopting new technologies or we are improving things because of the burden of changing documentation.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
right.
That's completely insane to think this way, that documentation, building up documentation is blocking us to implement new solutions that we all agree that will be better for our business. So I think we need to simplify with control. I fully agree with you. It cannot be like a free wall and everyone far west, everyone shooting whatever they want. But at some point, we need to standardize and simplify bureaucracy to make it more efficient, because otherwise we are generating documentation that later on no one is going to read or not use it in a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, make everything and not just because we need the document.
Exactly, useful documentation. I don't want to finish the session with you without you making some predictions. Probably you will write it in your articles on LinkedIn. But how I want to get from you, after being present for the last 15, 20 years in the cold chain evolution, how do you see the cold chain logistics in the next 10, 15 years? Which are how do you imagine cold chain logistics will look like in 2035, for instance?
I thought about that already, and I normally only do it in December. But I knew you were going to have this type of question. So I'll give you 4 different layers. I won't detail too much because then we would go into a next session and we can continue talking. I love this, by the way. One is predominantly, like hybrid networks, probably, where people have to crisscross different networks to achieve the destination, named hybrid networks. Secondly, validated reusable packaging for routine flows. So things that are reoccurring in an easy way, but true globally, in a global way. As today, you can see that many times more in a regional way, it is easier, but in a true level of global reusability, where in a way you send something from Belgium to Brazil, but you don't need your box back in Belgium or in Europe, but you can leave it in Brazil, and then there it will crisscross again the rest of the world, something like that. So not a focus on regional only, but on true global. That would have been something I would love to develop as well. Then number 3, the AI optimized dynamic routing during disruptions. But that has to be enabled first by a lot of data, shared data, and proven data that is good for use, of course, in a controllable way. So I think in the next era, or by 2035, let's say, that is something I see happening. And the 4th one was digital twins modeling, validated alternatives to allow this healthcare industry to enable mitigating cold chain risk in real time. So think about it, where tomorrow you have something on a route, and suddenly a volcano bursts again. And we've seen that. What was it? So many months. Don't recall the name of the Icelandic volcano a long time ago, but it disrupted the air for many, many months and or weeks. And at that time, nobody was ready for that risk mitigation, swiftly switching gear and having something still logistically delivered. So enabling that mitigation in cold chain in real time on that specifically. So that's more about what I was thinking. And but today it's about how any technology helps to drive that forward so that you can really have that hockey stick level up.
So that's October 2025. So then we check in 10 years time,
We talk again.
and in 10 years time, hopefully before, Esther, hopefully before, but in 10 years time for sure, we will reevaluate your predictions. And you made me think, because you were talking about reusable packaging on a global scale, and we should not, and this is a question, so I don't have the answer, like many times I don't have the answer. Just wanted to capture your opinion, because you were talking about reusable packaging equipment on a global scale, and there is also something spinning in my mind. What if we use the same concept of reusable packaging also to monitoring equipment? Because right now, imagine, for instance, data loggers. You gave the example. You send something from Europe to Brazil, a data logger for brand, whatever. Then it's there. But actually, the monitoring itself is quite of a commodity. I mean, as far as it's calibrated and measured correctly, then you are fine. I mean, you don't really care if it's brand A or brand B, whatever. What if we make a global reusable network, not only for packaging, but also for monitoring devices? Is that something could make sense?
It does. I have my ideas, but I need to talk to a couple of people. Yeah.
Okay.
Won't detail it. Discussed it even with my kids, and they were like, "Oh wow, you thought about it?" Yes. Known items that are already existing. I'm pretty sure that some known devices can be helping that prediction that you do for 2035. Probably before, I hope.
Yeah, hope before, because we are in that path. So hopefully we reach the destination earlier than in 10 years. But okay,
Yeah,
keep pushing.
same. Definitely on any routine flows, that should be the first thing that could be possible. But then having a true and global, wow, can you imagine if that would exist?
I wouldn't say we don't need to even imagine, it already exists. We have a clear example for Europallets. Europallets it's a network, but then you don't care if it's your pallet or pallet from someone else. It's just a standard, and then you use it.
Yeah, make that global.
Make that global, and then we have it.
True.
Perfect. Esther, is there anything else that you would like to share with us? Something that any topic that we didn't touch upon and you think it's important?
Think we can continue to talk for hours. This was really great. I just want to thank you, and make this an invitation to all of your listeners to continue reading and read more about anything that we have laid out here, and the scenarios, the possibilities, the future, the Nostradamus, etc. And read more about True Cold and myself. And let's hope that we can make nice things happen, because they're needed for the industry, and help anybody who needs that healthcare piece for enabling more health and being there for the future.
Thank you. Great pleasure having you, and we will meet soon. I mean, 100% sure that before before 10 years we are meeting.
Oh yeah, pretty sure.
We will have a beer in Belgium.
Happy to.
Thank you, Esther.
All right.
Take care, enjoy, and talk to you soon.
Talk
Ciao.
soon. Bye.